Afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, if you can go ahead and put your name in the chat. My name is B. Nichols, and welcome to DFSS's first of the year of this program year, HSAC meeting. I'm sure we have not only Head Start agencies joining us, but as well our sales programs, PFA and PI. So we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a lot to get to in this hour. So the first thing I wanted to start with that really does apply to all programs that are joining us is we just started this new program year on September the 3rd, which means that you had a lot of children that enrolled on that first day. And so what have we been doing feverishly since September 3rd? The DFSS team, the health team, data team, and other units have been working with you to make sure that you've been updating those first 45 days for the health screens. So we know that you all are on spreadsheets, so are we. And hopefully we'll be able to transition off those maybe in the new year when we have our system that can capture this. But for now, the spreadsheets are the system. And so the teams will continue to work with you because just like we had those children enter on the first day, September 3rd, by October the 17th, their 45 days, that clock was over. So we're going to continue to work with you as children enroll and we get to those other 45 days. So we're going to do this throughout the year. So we ask you all to hang in there. All right, now I'm going to switch over to talking a little bit about Head Start. For those of you that are in Head Start, you should be aware that there are new updates to the Head Start performance standards. I was on the webinar. Hopefully, many of you were also on the webinar with the Office of Head Start. But they put these out, and the final rule was released September the 30th. Now, there are different effective dates. So I encourage you to go in and look at the effective dates for each of these updates that the feds put in the final rule. And just so that you know, what we did was we put this information in the CSD update. And so I'm going to ask Mara if you could go ahead and put that slide presentation up. But you all already have this in the CSD updates. So one of the things that I was excited about is the feds are focused on us. And when I mean us, I mean the workforce of Head Start. They took a real serious look at our wellness and our engagement. Next slide. So what the feds are saying here is they want a goal of all of us that work in Head Start to be able to be healthy and have a good well-being. And you know, that includes our physical, our mental, our cognitive health in the Head Start workforce. Why? Because we're trying to attract new people to Head Start, as well as retain those of us that are already here. So, what are some of the things that they put into this? So, wellness. We know that wellness is a huge area when we think about it in totality. But they gave a few examples here. So, to promote programmatic culture of wellness and staff empowerment, something as simple as receiving adequate breaks. Now, for Chicago, you're probably saying, like I did when I first saw this, well, we all get breaks, you know? Here in DFSS, we get 2 breaks and we get a lunch break. But think of our size and complexity. And so, what the feds are getting at here are probably some of those smaller Head Starts, more rural Head Starts that don't have the capacity in workforce as we do in Chicago. So, for us, we already, most of you, hopefully all of you, implement breaks. And so, what they gave are some examples. They're not going to stipulate a requirement for unscheduled breaks. That's left to the agencies to be able to come up with to see what works best. They're not going to say what the length of those breaks should be. Again, an agency decision. And there's no requirement for adult-sized furniture in classrooms, but maybe that's something that the agency wants to opt to do. We're so focused and have been for so long on child size. But in order to promote health and wellness for adults, you have to think about those things. We make accommodations and modifications for certain special needs. Well, we need to think about that for our staff as well. So below that, you see that they talk about employee engagement. Employee engagement means, what is the management style? Is it an open style? Is it one that encourages values and responds to employee feedback and comments? Most of you probably have an employee, some type of loop or communication where your employees may use a survey box or something to give you feedback. This is being encouraged. As well as, how do we identify as agencies and address barriers that may be keeping our staff from having a high quality job performance? Some of the things that were mentioned throughout this document, and again, I want you to go back, because if you're a trainer at your agency, you can use these slides as I'm using today. But what they talked about was, how can we do this? So we named some simple things here that can be done. But they also go on to talk about a living wage, how to meet staff's basic needs, loan forgiveness for staff if they find themselves in that situation, child care subsidies and making those available to our staff because we have children. They talked about low-cost behavioral health services, EAP, employee assistance programs, and creating competitive wages for our staff. Why do you think that we lose so many of our staff if they're qualified? They can go to other places like the school districts and earn more. So I'm really excited and glad that the feds are now focusing on staff wellness. And so this particular slide is also, I'm going to share with you because it gives links to resources. If you're struggling with policies, it's a resource here on eClick for wellness and how you can develop data-informed policies and strategies, as well as training. They give a link here to the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. And many of you are already familiar with psychological first aid. They also talk about what it means to practice reflective supervision. And then lastly, employees have rights. And they give a reference, a link here to what those rights look like. So I just encourage you to go back and take a look at this PowerPoint and glean some things from it that maybe you can implement. You know, a lot of times the feds will roll these policies out but they don't really give us the dollars to support it. But there are some things that we can do without the money. Like some of you have adopted walking in the morning for health and wellness. Some of you do yoga. Some of you do stress relieving strategies. So think about the little things that we can do to promote staff wellness. And so, along this vein, thank you, Mara. Along this vein, I want to keep this going. And if any of you have some strategies that your agencies are using and you don't mind putting it in the chat, feel free to do so because I want to give other agencies ideas of what you're doing in order to promote wellness for staff. We do so much for our children and families, but we also need to take care of one another and our staff. All right. We are very, very lucky to have with us SGA. SGA, as you know, Melissa, you know very well. Melissa has worked with us, Melissa Moore, as a contractor with SGA, and she does our mental health pieces. She's been with us with our health services advisory meetings before and subcommittee meetings and giving us wellness tips. But today you're going to meet Clarissa Alvarez. And I'm so thankful that Clarissa and Melissa pulled this presentation together for us today because it goes right along with staff wellness promotion. Clarissa is a clinician at SGA, Youth and Family Services. She earned her master's degree in social work from Erickson with a concentration in infant and early childhood mental health. Clarissa is a licensed social worker in Illinois. She is an active member of the Illinois Association for Infant Mental Health. Clarissa draws upon her experience working with children and families, and I'm going to add staff, within the early childhood, early intervention, and school-based systems. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Clarissa.
Thank you so much, B, for the introduction. I just want to say thank you so much for just giving me this opportunity to be here with everyone. Um, I am just going to share my screen. That way I can pull up this presentation. Bear with me while I figure it out. It's not too tech savvy over here.
Mara, we have the PowerPoint. Are you able to
Oh,
pull it up?
Yeah, one sec.
oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mara. Like B said today, as we segue into this conversation, we're going to be focusing on staff wellness. Next slide, please. And as B mentioned again too, this presentation was pulled together by Melissa Moore, and I'm here presenting on her behalf. And we're both from SGA Youth and Family Services. And I really just want to emphasize thank you everyone for taking the time to join today's meeting. Your well-being is very important, and again, like B stressed, how we come into the classroom in that setting is very very much important, and I really invite everyone to share your thoughts and experiences throughout this discussion today, whether it's muting yourself or typing something in the chat too. Next slide, please. So our objectives for our time together, we're going to be discussing wellness, stress, and self-care. We're also going to be talking about the 8 dimensions of well-being, as well as staff wellness planning and accessing support to be able to have that. Next slide, please. So let's start off. What is wellness? Wellness is very complex. It's holistic. It includes environmental, lifestyle, mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. It's an ongoing process of awareness and mindfulness. And I also, if you see me looking to the side, I do have my notes here, so I do want to just kind of disclose that. This also helps us cope with everyday challenges. Um, Yeah, this requires us to be intentional with wellness to help us keep a healthy mindset when we are in that space working with staff and other children. Next slide, please. So, organizational wellness support. And if you have anything that you want to be able to add to this slide too, you can feel free to put that in the chat of how you support your workers or systematically if there's anything that comes to mind as I go along speaking. We want to be able to foster an organizational culture that supports wellness by adopting policies that promote and support staff self-care. This can be also done by encouraging professional development, like you are today in this training. We also want to be able to create opportunities for staff to participate in social change and community engagement, and ensuring that we are in a safe work environment. This makes counseling resources and employee system assistance programs much more available to everyone in that organization. Next slide, please. Um, And I really just want to take this time and just kind of open the floor to anyone. What wellness initiatives have you taken into your workplace and that you've engaged for your staff? You can unmute yourself, you can add it in the chat. Anything that you're working on or proud to share that you've done for your employees is this is a great time to be able to bounce ideas off, or if there's things that you're looking to add, this is a great time to be able to share that.
Clarissa, this is B. I'll go first.
I'm sorry.
we, this is B. I'll go first.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
We
Dee.
come together to have our staff meetings, the health team
Mhm.
and I. And what we'll typically do is bring food and share it with each other and just, you know,
Yeah.
it food just makes such a big difference.
Mhm.
And I didn't know we had so many wonderful cooks. So it's something that's little, but it's big.
Yeah, just creating that sense of community with one another, even just by attending to those needs of just like eating, communicating with each other over a snack or something. Those are definitely the little things that add up to the bigger picture of what we talk about systematically. Okay. Does anyone else have anything to share before we move on? There's other opportunities too if you guys to add your thoughts too. But we can move on to the next slide. Hmm, Excuse me. So cultivating wellness. These two links for eClick, they have great resources on the 8 dimensions of staff well-being. Um, Again, Mara has this PowerPoint, and you'll be able to have access to this resource as well. And you'll be able to click on these two links below. That way, you can read more about what those 8 dimensions of staff well-being are, and kind of just getting more information on that. Next slide, please. Again, going off the topic of 8 dimensions of well-being, we have social, mental, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, and occupational. And like I had mentioned earlier, what is wellness? It's holistic, and these are the 8 different components that kind of go into the person that we want to take into consideration. Um, if we are missing one need, then that really does play a role into how we may or may not function into that therapeutic space with staff and the children that we work with. Next slide, please. Stress. Stress is such a big topic when it comes to staff wellness. Um, I'm sure you all are familiar with stress. Stress is a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. This is also feeling under pressure, threatened, and really stress can affect both the mind and body. So there are 4 different categories of which we can experience stress. Behaviorally, this can look like neglecting our responsibilities or appetite changes or sleep disturbances. And emotionally, what this may present as is depression, agitation, irritability, or loneliness, or any other feelings that kind of come out that way too. And then cognitively, excuse me, this might present itself as poor concentration, memory problems, constant worrying, seeing the negatives only. And then lastly, there's also the physical category. You're going to be really feeling those physical sensations, whether it's headaches, migraines, chronic fatigue, hair loss, acne, palpitations, changes in your bowel habits, or even muscle aches. Um, I know for me myself, we all feel stressed differently, and these are various ways that we can feel it. Um, and the reason why to talking about these four different categories is really to help us conceptualize and see like, okay, stress isn't just a mental thing. Like I can feel it behaviorally or emotionally or cognitively and physically. And this really helps us to be able to identify like when we are feeling that way, we can be proactive and find solutions of how to be able to take care of ourselves. Next slide, please. And like going off on that conversation too of what I said, being able to identify when you're feeling stress is noticing your feelings and stress level. Some questions we might want to ask ourselves is how do I know when my stress level is going up? And for this slide too, feel free to add in the chat to answering some of these questions. How do you know when your stress level is going up? This can be muscle soreness, headaches, crying, feeling frustrated or sleeping more, etc. What is in my control right now? That's something that you want to be able to ask yourself. We can focus on our reactions, behaviors, thoughts, feelings, and needs. Something that I tell my clients too is uh, we can only control the things that are within our control, and that's kind of something to be able to manage our stress and not to be able to catastrophize and thinking all these negative feelings of like, oh my gosh, what if, or I could have done that, or I should have done that, which is something that will be going a little bit more in the PowerPoint, but just to help give you an idea of that. Lastly, and another question to ask yourself to be able to identify your feelings and stress level is what do I need right now to feel better? This can look different for anyone, like taking a drink of water, a deep breath, a walk outside, or even having a phone call or a visit with someone that's near and dear to you, or if you have a specific activity that helps you become calmer. This can look very different for each person, and I think being able to take time to think about what that is for you is very important when you are in that situation when you are stressed. But to really kind of think about this slide too, and the takeaway is just taking a break when you need to is really important. Next slide, please. Excuse me. Unhelpful thinking patterns and unhealthy coping strategies. Um, this is really to help give us an idea of what that looks like. I know some of these things may feel familiar, or you might relate to them. Some of these things to be aware of is the all or nothing thinking, jumping to conclusion, emotional reasoning, like oh, I'm just trying to rationalize your feelings when no, that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes there isn't a reason to why we feel things. You feel that because you're stressed. Having the should statements, I should have done that, I should have done this, I should have been better about doing that. Overgeneralizations. This can look like, oh, I bet that's normal to do. Oh, I bet everyone experiences that. That's an example of what overgeneralizations are. Focusing on the negatives, catastrophizing, personalization, abuse of substances, withdrawing from friends, family, and activities, binge eating, procrastinating, zoning out on your phone for hours, taking your stress out on others, sleeping too much or too little, and avoiding facing problems that need to be addressed. These are all examples of what unhelpful thinking patterns and unhealthy coping strategies are. And by having this list, it gives us an idea of like, okay, maybe I do some of these things, and that can help us start that process of, okay, I am stressed. What can I do next? Which we'll continue to discuss more in this presentation. Next slide, please. Teamwork, peer-to-peer support. This can look like by identifying those triggers, like I mentioned, and then identifying what those support strategies work best for you. one support strategy might work for one person, it might not work for the other person. It really is just about finding what is most comfortable and that works the best for you. Um, Noticing when a colleague is feeling overwhelmed, and this is done by supporting a culture of self-care strategies, or even just saying, I need to take 5. Um, by saying that, you're nurturing that environment that, okay, I'm going to respect this person's boundary. They probably need a couple of minutes before we can, go ahead and work on this project together. Um, by nurturing that, we are creating the cycle of calming yourself, reflecting, asking you those reflective questions earlier, like, okay, what can I do to help me feel better? Why am I feeling stressed? And then just reconnecting afterwards and going back to calming yourself if that happens again. But I want to take a moment here too. Again, what do support strategies look like within your workplace? I can share for me. Within my team, here at my program that I work at SGA, we really take time to have a check-in with our coworkers. It's I usually like maybe 5 to 10 minutes of our team meeting. We take time to just check in on each other, have a I want to say like an icebreaker. We do like a rose of the day, and then what's your bud of the day, and really just giving each other space to be able to talk how they're feeling. Um, but does anyone else have anything to share about what support strategies look like in your workplace? Anything that your team enjoys doing together? And we can always add in the chat or add it as we go along with the presentation. Next slide, please. And this is really meant to just kind of be food for thought. Considering what peer support strategies you would like to try in your workplace, I really encourage you to be able to have those conversations with your peers, your supervisors. If there's something that you want to see in the workplace, or if you have an idea that you think would be beneficial or helpful for everyone, that's definitely an environment that you want to be able to help nurture and have that promotion of self care. Oh, oh, it says that mics are disabled, Mara. I'm not sure if someone had something to add to the chat or the conversation?
I believe if they raise their hand, Mara will unmute.
Oh, okay. So, Luke, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Lucessa, if you want to raise your hand in the top, there should be by React, you should be able to raise your hand and you should be able to get unmuted like that. Mhm. You're welcome. I'm not
Also,
sure
make
if it.
sure that your volumes are up.
Were we able to get
I
Lucessa?
am trying to find her right now on my. Here she is. Okay. Okay, you should be able to unmute now.
Thank
Mhm.
you
Thank you.
for letting me know that I was 3 minutes late, so it might have been an instruction already. But I just wanted to say the check-ins are good daily, not
Yeah,
just with the meetings. So we do check-ins daily to see how our night went, if there's anything we need
mhm.
to talk through before the day starts.
Definitely. I really like the daily check-ins too. Um, really just going based on what everyone's needs are. I think that's great to do as well. I'm reading the chat here. Kina says, I do virtual team meetings with my staff, but once a month is in person. Oh, okay. And she gets them lunch so we can just have a relaxed me and kind of unwind for a little bit. I love that. I love that. Um, kind of going based off too when I said like meeting people where they're at, if they're able to, depending on the needs of the organization, whether you could do in person daily or virtual meetings once a month or in person, whatever that looks like. I think just being able to have that effort and nurturing that environment is even great. Thank you so much for sharing, both of you. I don't see the PowerPoint on my screen, Mara. We want to continue on. Yeah, taking care of yourself. And this can look very different or it can look very different for everyone. Whether it's getting yourself a meal or participating in various activities to be able to tend to yourself. I think self-care can come off very big and can be intimidating to some people. And I think just being able to remind people too that it can be something small and easy, like, getting lunch too as well. But focusing on the slide, I'm sorry. Taking care of yourself is an important way of being able to take care of children in your care, especially when they're behaving in challenging ways. Um, when you're calm and rested, that's when you're able to respond more appropriately. That's when we're more regulated, and we want to be able to make sure that we're tending to our cups. That way, when we tend to the children, just adding it's not adding more dysregulation to the situation. When you are feeling stressed, exhausted, or frustrated, you might find it difficult to respond to children's behaviors in a way that's helpful. Next slide, please. Self-care, and if anyone, please feel free to add in the chat what you do for self-care. I really would like to just kind of bounce ideas around of what that looks like for different people. Like I mentioned again earlier in the presentation, some things might work for other people, some things might not work. But definitely just having those ideas can be very helpful. Like, okay, I don't do self-care, but what can I get started off with? Um, and the first step to what we could try is noticing your feelings and stress levels, taking a break when you need it, not expecting perfection from yourself, and making self-care a priority, focusing on what's in your control, challenging unhelpful thinking, looking for support, practicing gratitude, trying a new self-care idea, recognizing things are out of your control, and getting enough sleep and drinking water, moving your body. And to kind of pause right there, sometimes even just paying attention to what our body needs is as basic as self-care can look like, whether it's just having a couple minutes to yourself or listening to some music or just giving like your temples a massage. Um, just paying attention to what our body needs to is the point that I want to emphasize. Finding time in the day for breaks. But again, I mentioned listening to music, talking to friends and family, journaling, practicing deep breathing exercises, getting outside, noticing what you feel, see, smell, and taste. Something that's not listed here too that I consider self-care is having boundaries. Boundaries are self-care. You want to be able to set those boundaries, whether it's from work and personal life or um, scheduling an hour of lunch during the day for you to make sure you have that break. And again, whatever that boundary you want to set, that's also self-care too. And I think that's something that people forget about, and definitely just want to be able to emphasize or remind that to everyone. I'm reading the chat, and it looks like Alice does manicures and pedicures. Ooh, that's fun. Along with medieval times once a year. And then Linda says she goes for a walk outside. Oh, definitely. Sometimes just getting the sunshine and the fresh air, it can be very regulating for your body when, again, crisis or high escalated situations could be very, very tough. And sometimes just getting that fresh air can be very rejuvenating for us. And then Veronica says exercising and listening to music. Yeah. Those are great. I really appreciate you guys sharing that. I know before being in the field for myself, I didn't have a self-care, and it's very it can be very daunting of like, where do I start? And once you find that cup of tea that fills your cup, it definitely becomes much more easier, and not easier, but much more enjoyable to be able to take care of yourself. But also talking about self-care is finding ways to holding ourselves accountable to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, whether this is having a buddy that you can participate in doing some of these activities with, um, or even just making time one day out of the week to do some of these things can also be very important too. And then Carmen says that she reads books. That's awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. So I'm going to say to the next slide, please, as I'm keeping an eye on time. And with everything that we've talked about, this is really just to be able to build our capacity to be able to participate in self-care and creating a staff wellness plan, which you can find on this link here. Um, Again, some of these questions to think about is how can we support our staff? What does support look like? Where are the signs our staff are feeling overwhelmed or need assistance on? What can we do when our staff needs a break? And what can we do for ongoing staff wellness? And everything that we've talked about so far is really just to be able to build our capacity in being able to answer these questions and have more of a reflective outlook when supporting our employees. But again, I just want to also reemphasize too that this link here will give you more information and resources on creating a staff wellness plan if you are interested in that. Next slide, please. So we are coming towards the end of the training, and I kind of want to end on with a little bit of a grounding exercise. Next slide, please. And before we start this exercise too, I kind of just want to reemphasize how easy it can be to do self-care. This video in particular is only a minute long, and it's a breathing exercise. And with this specific video, it's going to be breathing in and out as the shape gets bigger and smaller. And this is really just to be able to help us understand that, okay, maybe I'm in a situation where I'm in the classroom and I have a co-teacher, or I can't necessarily step away to take a break. Um, this is just to be able to help remind us, like, okay, maybe I can't step away, but maybe I can find some things that can help me in that moment when I can't necessarily walk away from the situation. But yes, if we can press play, and then we can have everyone follow along with the video. Oh no. Um, yeah, there someone in the chat said we can't hear.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second.
No worries. Um, but with that breathing exercise, it had some, I think, some instrumental music in the background. Um, but again, once you do get access to this PowerPoint, you are more than welcome to um follow along with the exercise with or without music. I think that might depend on some people's needs, if they enjoy deep breathing with some background noise or in silence too. um but thank you, Antonia, for bringing that to our attention. I didn't realize the sound was off. I'm so sorry for that. Mhm. Are you I don't see the presentation on my screen.
One second, I was trying to put
Mhm.
the settings for it to play
Oh,
the audio, but
no
I like
worries.
to do
Thank
that.
you.
Do you want me to go to the current slide?
Yeah, we could do it once more with the sound on.
Okay, let me figure that out. Hold on.
Okay.
For some reason, it is not allowing me to share. It said could not share sound.
Oh.
I think it's my
Oh.
settings on my laptop.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's unfortunate. I guess then once this PowerPoint is shared with everyone, I guess just having to listen to the sound on their own time might be the solution for this temporarily. Just because we are coming up on time. Thank you, Mara. Okay. And then accessing resources, being able to practice self-care, talking to a mental health professional. We also have the NAMI Chicago Health Helpline, and there's also the 988 Crisis Lifeline, as well as the CDPH mental health centers with the phone numbers listed. Next slide, please. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them in the chat or raise your hand with the function button up top, and we can definitely take some time to answer if there's any questions right now.
Larissa, can you hear me? This is B.
Yes.
All right, what I want to do is put people into breakouts so
Okay.
that they can think about some of the things that you put on the slide
Okay.
and just discuss in small groups about what
That'd be
they're
helpful.
going to take back and implement, even if it's one thing. Either implement it
Definitely.
with your teammates when you get back to the job, or something that you may want to do for yourself. So they're not going to spend very much time together, but I'm about to put you all into breakouts so that you can unmute and speak to one another about what you're going to take away and do to promote wellness. And then we'll all come back together.
That's a great idea, B. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you all can maybe turn on your cameras. If you want, if you don't, it's okay. So what are some of the things that you think you're going to take back to your agency and maybe implement? I'm going to pick on Shining Star. Can we unmute them?
It looks like I muted everybody. Can everybody talk?
Shining Star. What are you going to take back and do? Right. What did she say? I can't read it all, Mara.
She needs to get on a computer with a mic.
Oh, okay. Or you can type it in the chat. So what do you ladies think we should do, Mara and Martise? I like the birthday thing when they gather us. That's nice. Anything else?
Yeah, I agree. The birthday one is a good way to get us all together.
But is it anything else that maybe we can do? And
Bring in someone for us.
Yes, that's a great idea. Maybe Melissa or Clarissa. I think we should have a feedback box too.
That would be a good one.
Okay, Mara, I started these breakouts. Oh, I see where you can close the breakout. All I have to do is press close and everybody will go back in the
Everybody should
large.
be able to come back in, yeah.
And what's this little bull? What is that? Oh, make an announcement.
Hi, B. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Sorry about that.
that's all right.
So for staff mental health, we do a birthday club where we try to do something for everybody's birthday. Around the holidays, we try to make it like family based where we all come together and do like a potluck or celebrate. We try to do like one event amongst the site or at the site level once a month where we'll go out and maybe eat and then just let our head down, vent a little bit about work, home life, so that way that they know that we're here for them as management. We also push them to use our mental health services. Like the consultant is here for us and the family. So if you guys need it, we try to tell them, reach out to them. We can set up a one-on-one so that way you have time to meet with them and, get whatever you have going on out and through it. And then if they need additional support, we kind of come together as a team to.
I like that idea. We were just going over a couple of things too that we might implement. We do the birthday thing too, like once a month, and we have some treats or something, and everybody kind of gathers around. But I like your ideas too. Gotta do something to keep people engaged. I know there are some people that have like yoga groups, um, which is nice. That's a good idea. Or if you're not into yoga, maybe, I don't know, some type of stress relieving thing. Hi, Jillian. What agency are you with? You can unmute.
Hey there, I'm from Christopher House.
Hi. So what are you going to take back? Uh-oh. Did we kick her?
I think we lost her.
Oh. Okay, I'm probably going to give them just a couple of more minutes and then I'll close the rooms. Just trying to give everybody a chance to have a little something to talk about. You made it back, Shining Star. Can you unmute? Maybe we reached our capacity. Oh, yes.
Okay,
So,
I don't know what happened. I got kicked out and had to figure out how to get back in.
oh, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Hi,
So,
B. I just saw your email.
hi, Clarissa. Yeah, I thought that would be an option for us to get into the smaller
Yeah.
groups. And then
Okay.
maybe you can just bring us back together when I release everybody into the larger group. And let's hear
Mhm.
what they have to share.
Okay. I wasn't sure how long we were meeting in the group that I was in. I thought it would take us back to the main group.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure about my two other
Folks.
yeah.
All right. Then I'm going to close the rest of the rooms and
Okay.
then you can bring us all back together.
Okay.
Thanks, Sonia.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Okay, coming back now. Okay.
All right, Clarissa, I think everybody is coming back from their groups. Just give them
I
a
want to
few,
say it's like 12
What happened?
weeks.
What
just give them
happened?
a few more minutes.
Oh,
We're coming back
Oh,
into the large group. I hear
oh, I'm sorry. I
Maya
was just talking.
and Daphne.
I'm like, what happened? But
Well,
okay.
you never know how long to leave you all
That's
in these groups, but
well, I didn't know how much time. That was one I was sharing with the young
yeah.
ladies. And then I was like, we just kind of had a conversation. And I was like, oh,
Yes, we were
Okay.
having a good conversation this
Oh,
day.
yeah.
well, let's not stop the good conversation. Let's keep it going just in the larger group.
Okay. Well, no,
We
it
had some
was,
very good self-care ideas.
mm-hmm.
Is that you, Ross?
Yes, it's me.
Go ahead.
It was Miss Washington, I believe I was in with, and she had some good ideas, things that
Oh, we lost some people.
They'll probably pop back. Is everybody on mute again?
No, it looks like we only have 10 people in here now.
Wow. Let me see if they're still stuck in rooms.
That I can say that I'm happy to know.
Discussion.
Oh my goodness. We had it again. And,
Yeah,
and
I don't
got
need to
There,
called
be
now
back.
we're back to 29.
I don't need to be on these controls, Mara, because I don't know what I'm doing. But it looks like we all got back together. So,
As a kid, thank you. That
Clarissa,
was cool.
You're welcome. You are so welcome. I enjoy speaking with you.
Clarissa,
You
if
too.
you're
Thank you. I'm
still
sorry.
with us,
Yes.
you can lead us on into our discussion.
Yeah. I hope everyone enjoyed meeting in their small breakout rooms. Sometimes meeting in smaller groups might be a little bit more helpful, and I kind of just wanted to see what everyone talked about in their groups. If anyone wants to begin sharing first.
well, the group that I was in, I believe it was Miss Washington. One thing I like what she said was that she really checks in with her staff. And
Mm-hmm.
if she sees or thinks that something is really going on that's on that outside level home, that she
Mm-hmm.
really checks in and tries to make sure and do whatever's needed, because which is true. If you are not well mentally or
Mm-hmm.
physically, you can't do the work that we are all doing to help others. And I thought that was, she said she'll go so far as to go to HR and say, okay, I got a staff and they need some help. And
100%.
and
Thank you.
I thought that was really great. I really did,
Yeah.
because and especially as women, we're always so used to helping and taking care of everybody else. A lot of times we don't want to admit that we need help or
Mm-hmm.
we need somebody to kind of help us.
100%. Just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying too, if we're not present with ourselves, then we're not going to be present in the space that we're working in, essentially. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, does anyone else have anything else to share? I'm very curious to hear what the conversations were about. It's very chatty when we all got back to the bigger room. I can share what my group talked about. We talked about being intentional with moving our bodies too during the day, and um, just being able to have that extra movement can be very helpful too when if we're being what's the word? I can't think of the word, but just moving helps too, and just being very intentional about that.
Yeah, I can share what we talked about in our group too, Chris.
Thanks, Dee.
Shining Star was on with us, and
Mhm.
they talked about the same things about adding food when you can. That seems to be a motivator to bring people together.
Mhm.
We also talked about maybe adding a feedback box where people can just drop in anonymously, some things that
Definitely.
they are feeling and they want to get out. And then we also talked about the birthdays, celebrating birthdays, maybe at the end of the month, coming together using food to do that. So,
Hmm. I really like the aspect of food that you mentioned, and I feel like that can bring community together, and um, just that sense of community is very, very important in this field too, and being able to take care of each other. Excuse me.
well,
Anyone else?
Clarissa,
Oh, mhm.
I want to thank you for getting us off on the
Of
right start
course,
with this
of
first
course.
HSAC. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, maybe they just came off for the second. Um, you got us off to a really good start this year. And I hope
Mhm.
people take those strategies back and implement them because we have to take care of ourselves. And hopefully
100%.
you will take care of whatever that is you're struggling with, your little virus. It's a lot of that going around. So thank you, Clarissa.
Mhm.
And
Thank you so much, B.
you're welcome. I just want to remind everyone that we'll be beginning our subcommittee meetings for the HSAC in January 2025. They'll all be at the mayor's office for people with disabilities over on Ogden. So we'll be meeting there from 2:30 to 4:30. But we'll be sending those notifications and registrations out in CSE updates. So we hope to see you there. Thank you, Clarissa, and thank you, team. Thank you, staff. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks.